Welcome back, everybody. In this module, we're going to use Java, okay, as the programming tool. So it's good to know um, now that you are familiar with uh, mainstream programming language like Python. It's good to know other programming language as well. One thing, it's good for your brain, and it's good for your career as well. Okay. So usually interviewers are pretty open about the programming language, but there may be an interviewer who preferred a language like Python or like Java, okay, or C++. So it's good to have that versatility in your programming tool set. Okay, so we're going to solve this problem using Java. Now I'm not going to solve this one right now, but I'm going to go over to the references, and I highly recommend for you to read these references um, if you are new to Java. Okay, so these are the same references that I share with my students. These are actually OER, Open Educational Resource textbooks, and let's click on the second one, and then we can move on from there. Okay. All right, so you can see this is a interactive textbook, okay? And there are chapters 1 to 8 and 9 to 17, okay? So we are in the chapter 5, okay? If you are a total beginner to Java, I recommend going from chapter 1 uh, throughout, okay? So let me scroll back to the end, okay? So I'm not gonna go over each of these, okay? So all right, so right here, okay? So we're gonna run this example program. So this book is interactive. That means basically you can run the code in these boxes inside the book itself. So which is a good thing, and you can play with it as well, okay? So let's analyze this code for a start, okay? So since we did a lot of programming in Python, so kind of it's maybe a little bit hard to uh, completely switch to another language. It's definitely true for me as well. Okay. So, for example, when I was teaching Python, and then all of a sudden I have to teach Java, sometimes I make mistake by taking Python things into Java code. Okay, so that's common thing that can happen. But let's try to identify a few key similarities and differences. Okay, so like in Python, we use the import keyword in Java to import other libraries. In this case, we are importing this scanner library provided by Java. Okay, so utilities library, sorry, scanner class. Utilities library is really vast in Java, so it's provided to you by Java, so you can use it by importing it. And here we are importing the scanner class. Okay, so now it's a different. We separate. So this is a single line statement. So we separate statement in Java. We end statements in Java using semicolon. And Python, we don't do that. Okay. So and every time you write a class or function, you better document. Okay, so in Java we use this way of documentation for multi-line comments. For single line comments, we use double um, forward slash. Okay, so and then uh, in Python we use hash mark, right? Okay, so in this case, this this code holds uh, basically calculate the logarithm of a number, but before that, it validates the input, because we know that input can be anything, but logarithms only work with positive numbers. So we need to validate for that before we calculate. If we don't, then our program crash if someone input invalid input. Okay, so that's the whole idea. So input validation is a big deal in the industry. So in fact, sometimes we spend a lot of time to doing so to ensure the security and the reliability of the code. Okay, so in this we can see that there are a few differences in Java is considered uh, a purely object-oriented program. That means basically we have to write a class to run anything in Java. Okay, so in Python we didn't have to do that. We can simply run code, a few lines of code in Python. In Java, it is not the case. Okay, so we have to write a class at least. Okay, and then in this case, simply for example, we are running all of our code in this main program. Okay, it's sort of similar to what we ran so far in Python. So we simply ran it in the plain script, right? So in here we are running our code. We are basically writing our code inside this main method. We call this main method or main program. Okay. So unlike Python, we start our uh, code with the open curly bracket and end it with a close curly bracket. So we enclose our statements and entities inside them. Okay. So it's true for a class, it's true for a method. Okay. And it's true for conditionals. And you will see that in looping also, it's the same. Okay. So in this one, basically, we need to get the input from the user. And for that, in Java, we use the scanner class, and it's available through this utilities library. Okay. So, and we have to create a scanner object. So that's the in is the scanner object. Okay. So, so this line 11 is another difference between Python and Java. Okay. So in Python, so this is basically the type of the variable in Java. Okay. And the variable, and then we are creating a new variable using this type. So this is the formal way of creating um, objects out of classes in Java. Okay, but in Python, we never created objects like this. The reason is Python realized the type dynamically at runtime. So in Java, it's the opposite. Basically, type check is built into the compiler system. So basically, we have to define the correct type before we use an object. Okay, so that's why we had to do this. So this is the type, scanner is the type, and in is the object, and then basically um, we use the new keyword to create a new object. Okay, so in this case, excuse me. So we pass uh, this variable, okay, into the scanner uh, constructor. Okay. All right. So this is the class, and then this is the respective constructor. Okay. So we use this way of writing to create objects. In this case, in is the object. Okay. All right. So and then this is the prompt. Okay. So if we omit the prompt and then we'll not see anything in the output. Okay. So let's just run this one before we analyze further. Okay. All right. So we got the prompt. Okay. So without the prompt, you'll only see this blinking thing, and then it's maybe unclear. Okay, so it's always good to write a prompt whenever we take an input. Okay, so let's give it a number like 4.5. Okay, so we got the log value. Okay, so let's run it again, and this time I'm going to enter like gibberish. Okay, so it promptly uh, gave me, okay, it's not a valid number. Okay, and same with for negative numbers, because logarithms are not defined for negative numbers. Okay, so it's undefined. All right, so let's check. Okay, so we take the input. So this basically in is the scanner object. Okay, all right, now if you want to take a look at what available methods in this scanner class, you can simply Google Java scanner. Okay, all right. So and you get this documentation, and you can click on that Oracle's documentation, and you will see that all the methods available to you from that scanner class. Okay, so and then you will see that this has next. These are all the methods available, and it's actually nicely documented by Oracle. So it's really easy to find out what are the available methods. Okay, so and then this all methods, and they are categorized as well. Okay, so in this example, okay, so we first need to check whether this input is valid number. So this is the check for the format. It has to be a number. Okay, so and if you check this scanner class has this method called hashed next double. Okay, so basically it's a Boolean returning method if the if the if the number sorry if the input is a number, basically this method returns true. Okay, and we are checking not true because it's not symbol is over here. So if it is not true, that means this is not a number, so we should now print a error message. Okay, so system.error println would print anything what we pass into it in red. Okay, so it's an error. Okay, and then we cannot do anything, so we simply return here. So this is a simple input validator, so it's simply return. Okay, so and that's what we saw when we enter gibberish, right? So that's checking for the format. Okay, and then checking for the range. Basically it has to be a positive number. So um, now we know that this is a number. Okay, so that means we can safely now save that number into a double value, and that's what we do here in this line 22. Okay, so we take the double variables, type is double, x equals in dot. So to get that double value, we have this method, it's next double. Okay, all right. So and then we check the value for if it's greater than 0, then we can call the math library and call the log function and then get the log value out, print the log value. If it is not the case, that's a negative number. In this case, the log is undefined. Okay, so this is a simple program that shows you both input and how if conditional works. Okay, because this problem, FISBUS problem, require for you to know the um, if conditionals. Okay, it also needs knowledge about for loops. Okay, so let's in here we can simply add a for loop as well. Okay, so in this case I'm going to simply run a simple for loop. Okay, so for, okay, and unlike Python, we need brackets. Okay, so in Java, so and then we need a loop variable here. I'm going to take int, let's say I equals 1, and let's start from 0 to let's say let's run it for 10 less than 10. Okay, and then I plus plus. Okay, and then we need curly bracket. Okay, and then let's something like, let's print um, something 10 times. That's simply demo you the utility of for loops. Okay, so we are all familiar with for loops. So let's say let's print hi, or maybe um, we can print I. That's fine. Let's print hi. Okay, so run it. All right, so we give it a number that's creating actually logs, and then we printed hi for 10 times. So there you go. That's the 3 construct that you will need to solve this program, this problem, FizzBuzz. And later on, I'll completely solve the problem towards the end of the module.